Assalamu alaikum students. Good evening to everyone. Am I audible to you all? Thank you. I hope you all can see the slides. Are you able to see the slide? Yeah. So before starting today's session, I would like to remind you all um, regarding the midterm exam. So I have given a detailed announcement in Blackboard. Those who are not yet seen, please go and visit the announcement. You will get all the details related to the midterm exam because I can see only 7 students are seen so far. So at the end of the session, I will discuss all the details that is given in the midterm exam announcement. Now, without further delay, let us start our today's session. And next session, you are not going to have the class because I think you all have the midterm exams from Tuesday, right? So now, without further delay, let us start our today's session. So in today's session, we are going to start with the module 7, the intrusion detection. So here we are going to learn the concepts related to the notion of intrusion detection, various analysis approaches, and host-based intrusion detection, network-based intrusion detection, distributed or hybrid intrusion detection, honeypots, all these things. So first of all, what is a intruder? See, previously we have discussed different types of cyber intruders, and why the organization must defend against them. See, unlike the hackers who attack for curiosity or fame, here the criminals will attack to make money. So, as we all know that the cyber crime in today's technological world has been a global business with organized groups. They are using sophisticated tools to steal the valuable information and to earn millions of dollars. So the main objective is, when you understand the criminals motivation and the techniques that they are using, the organizations can better protect their systems and also the sensitive information. See, a criminal intruder is a person or maybe a group. Illegally, they access the computer systems to earn money or even to obtain the financial benefits. So, unlike the accidental attackers, here the criminal intruders, plan they carefully plan their attacks, and often they work as part of organized cybercrime groups. So, their main motivation is the financial profit, stealing of valuable information, extorting money, selling the stolen data. Likewise, see, the criminal intruders are often highly skilled. They are well organized. They are financially motivated. They are able to launch the attacks across different countries. So many of them operate like a legitimate business with the different members specializing in hacking, malware development, money laundering, and even selling the stolen data. Likewise, like for example, there is a criminal group. They hack an online shopping website. So they steal the customer credit card numbers. They log in customer login credentials, their personal information. So the stolen data is then sold on illegal online marketplace for profit. Okay, so identity theft is going to happen when the attacker steal someone's personal information and pretended to be that person. So the information may include like national ID number, passport details, email accounts, bank account information, social media accounts. So a criminal will steal, for example, your online banking username and password. So the attacker log in as you and transfer the money from your account. So this is the identity theft. And then theft of financial credentials. See, the financial credentials are the information that needed to access the financial accounts, like online banking, username, bank password, credit card number, debit card pin, mobile banking authentication code. Likewise, so the corporate espionage is the theft of confidential business information to gain a competitive advantage or the financial benefit. So the data theft is the unauthorized copying or stealing of digital digital information. So data has become one of the world's most valuable digital asset nowadays, right? So the criminals can sell the personal information, they can commit identity fraud, they can blackmail the victims, and they can conduct future cyber attacks. Likewise, many things will happen. So in overall, if you see, the criminal entities are the financially motivated cyber attackers who are targeting the individuals, the businesses, governments, and even the educational institutions to steal the valuable information or the money. So their activities will include identity theft, theft of financial credentials, the corporate espionage, data theft, and the ransomware attack. So many are going to operate as part of organized cybercrime groups, and they use the underground online forums to exchange the tools, stolen the data, and attack the strategies. So understanding these threats will help the organizations to implement the stronger security measures and improve the user awareness and reduce the risk of financial loss. And then activist. See, just now we learned about the criminal intruders whose main goal is the financial gain. But here we are going to learn another important class of intruders. They known as activists, or more commonly hacktivists, we used to call. Unlike the criminals, the hacktivists are usually driven by social, political, or ideological belief rather than the money. So their cyber attacks are intended to spread a message, protest against an organization, or attack the public attention to a cause. Likewise, see, a hacktivist is a person, or you can say a group that use the hacking techniques to support a social, political, environmental, and the ideological cause. So their goal is usually not the financial profit, but to raise the public awareness, protest against an organization or the government, and influence public opinion, embraces or pressure the target. So the hacktivist may work as insider or as a outsider also. See, the hacktivists are generally motivated by believing, by their beliefs or ideology. They are generally focused on publicity rather than the profit. They are generally interested in attracting the media attention. They are generally often target the governments, corporations, or even the public organizations. So in overall, many activists, they use readily available tools. They coordinate the campaigns, and they can still cause the significant service disruption and the reputational damage also. Then the next category is state sponsored. See, in the previous two categories, I mean the criminal entities, they're motivated by financial gain. The hacktivists, they're motivated by social or political cause. So this state sponsored introduce or the attackers who are supported or directly appointed by the governments, and often they possess significant financial resources, advanced technical skills, and the long-term strategic objectives. So these attacks are among the most difficult to detect and defend against the basic. They are carefully planned because they are carefully planned, um, highly stealthy, and a long term. So a state sponsored intruder is a hacker or the cyber group that receive the support, funding, or the direction from a government. So their attacks are usually conducted to achieve the national strategic objectives rather than personal or the financial gain. See, the governments may use these groups to gather intelligence or even monitor the foreign governments or steal the military information or obtain scientific or technological research or even disrupt the critical infrastructure during the conflicts. Like many things, it can be helpful. See, they often remain undetected for long periods while collecting sensitive information or preparing the future attacks against the governments, research organizations, financial institutions, and even the critical infrastructure also. So then we have some more categories, like we have seen the three major classes of introduce. One is um, criminal introduce, hacktivist, and then we learned about the state sponsored introduce. So some are defined by the way they act, I mean, they attack a system, while the others are classified by their motivations, like curiosity, technical challenge, or reputation among the other hackers, like this. See, these attackers, various attackers are there. They may not always seek money or political influence, but they can still pose the serious security risk. See, over the we have introduced classes like masquerader, which is an unauthorized individual who penetrates the system, and then we have um, misfissor. It is like a legitimate user who has valid system access but intentionally misuse that access. And then we have um, clandestine user. See, a clandestine user is an attacker who gain administrative or supervisory control of a computer system and hide their activities. So likewise, we have various categories are here. So in contrast, the classic hackers are often motivated by technical curiosity and the peer recognition, while the hobby hackers commonly they use publicly available tools to explore the system security regardless of their motivation. Each type can pose the significant risk to the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the information systems. See, some attackers they simply download the ready-made hacking tools, while other can modify the existing tools or even discover the new vulnerabilities. So here we have different skill levels of introduce, starting with the apprentice and the journeyman. So the first category, apprentice. An apprentice attacker has very limited technical knowledge. Instead of creating a new attack, they rely on the software created by others. So then typically they will download the attack tool, they will follow the online instruction, they will run automated hacking program, and very rarely they understand how the tools actually it is going to work. So what are the attack toolkits? See, attack toolkits are the collections of ready-made software that is used for the task like password attack, network scanning, vulnerability exploration, the denial of service attack, like these things. So the cyber attacks can also be classified by their technical skills level. The first category is apprentice attackers. Often they call it they are called as script kiddies. They have limited technical knowledge and mainly they use the publicly available attack tools that are created by others. So they represent the largest group of attackers, and they are generally easier to defend against because their techniques are well known. So the next category we have the journeyman, which possess strong technical skills that allow them to modify the attack tools and they can adapt them to exploit the newly discovered vulnerabilities and they can develop more effective attacks. So as their expertise are increasing, so does the difficult of detecting and defending against their activities. And then we have two more. See, see, the master attackers, they represent the highest level of cyber expertise. They are very capable of discovering new vulnerabilities and they are well in developing the advanced attack tools, whether through the user trespass involving unauthorized or misused user access, or the software trespass, the individual which is malicious software such as like virus, worms, and even the continued programming or monitoring so that we can protect the critical information systems. And then we have some examples of intrusion. See, the thing is that when I say the remote root compromise, so the attacker will gain administrator level control rule from remotely. So then we have web server defacement. So here the website content is modified without the authorization of the user and the password guessing or cracking. So it is like attempting to discover the user password and then the unattended workstations like misusing an unlocked computer left unattended likewise. So in overall the computer intrusions they can occur or happen through the technical attacks like the remote root comparison, the password cracking, packet sniffing, and database theft. So as well as and see, regardless of the method that is used, every intrusion threaten the confidentiality, integrity, and even the availability of the information systems. So the organizations reduce these risks, the employee awareness and secure authentication and the continuous monitoring. So now let us look at the behavior. See, the professional attackers they spend a significant amount of time collecting the information about their target before attempting to gain the access. So here the goal is we need to understand the typical stages of introduced behavior. So in that the first thing is target acquisition and information gathering. See, choosing a specific organization or system or the individual to attack which comes under this target acquisition. Like they can choose the university as a target, or school as a target, or a bank as a target, whatever it is. So the information gathering, see, collecting as much as possible information about the target before launching an attack. So the attacker wants to answer who works there, which operating system they are using, what is um, like software that is installed, what servers they are publicly accessible, like all these details they are trying to gather the information. So here the thing is that most of the cyber attacks they begin with reconnaissance, where the attackers very carefully collect the information about their target before affecting. So then we have privilege escalations. See, just now we learned about the target acquisition, information gathering, and the initial access, right? So here the thing is that when you combine the things like the previous steps and along with these steps, a typical cyber attack will follow a sequence of steps like target selection, reconnaissance, install the access, initial the access, and privilege escalation, then information gathering or system exploitation, then maintain the access, and then cover the tracks. So here the privilege escalation is an attacker may initially gain the access of a normal user, but then attempt to become a administrator. So what will happen in these cases? If you see, for example, an attacker gain access to a university web server through a unpatched application. So they exploit a privilege escalation vulnerability to obtain the administrator rights and search for the confidential examination papers, copy them to an external location, install a backdoor for future access, and delete the security logs to hide their activities. Like this. For example, if you see in hospitals, an attacker will compromise a hospital workstation and they will gain the administrative privileges through a vulnerability application. So the searches for electronic media records or exfiltrate the patient's data and initial installs a remote access route for further access, and they will disable the security software to remain hidden. So finally they attempt to cover their tracks by hiding the malware with the rootkits and modifying the system logs. So dedicating, I mean, in these cases, detecting the attackers during any of these stages is very critical to limit the impact of a security breach. And then the behavior. See, in most of the cases, there are two different, there are there are two different cases, okay? I mean, related to different perspectives. Like if you talk about the hacker behavior, they follow the step-by-step process to have a typical hacker during an attacker. Whereas if you talk about the criminal, so even though they both involve the cyber attacks, the first one is focusing on attack stages, while the while the other one highlights. See, here the main objective is select the target using the IP lookup tools. So before launching an attack, the hacker will choose the target, like either it is going to be a university or a school or a bank or a hospital, or even it may be a individual also. Then they will map the network for accessible services, and then they will identify the potentiality of vulnerable services, and then they will wait for administrator to log in. See, this is how the hacker behavior will follow. So, a typical hacker will follow a structured sequence of activities that being with start with the target selection, network reconnaissance, and identifying the vulnerabilities, followed by initial access, the credential theft, and lateral movement. So, the professional criminal introduce they perform these same stages with greater discipline. So, they are going to act quickly, they're going to minimize the mistakes. They're going to establish the persistent access through the backdoors, and they are going to steal the credentials efficiently and avoid remaining on compromised system longer than necessary. So understanding both the attack process and attackers behavior, which enables the organization to implement effective monitoring and the defense mechanism at every stage of an intrusion at every stage of an intrusion. So then insider intruder behavior. See, not every unusual action is malicious, but a combination of suspicious behavior may indicate that future investigation is necessary. So, a current or former employee, contractor, vendor, or other authorized individual who intentionally or unintentionally compromise an organization's security. So, insider threat can be malicious, negligent, and compromised. So, creating the network accounts. So, when we create the network accounts for themselves and their friends, like an employee will create additional user accounts without proper authorization. So, for example, these accounts may later be used to bypass the security control or sharing of access or hiding malicious activities. Likewise, so that is why the insider threat are very particularly challenging because the individuals who involved often they have legitimate access to organize the um, mechanism in the organization systems. So behaviors like creating an authorized account, accessing the system outside normal job responsibilities, and performing the unusual large data transfer or login at unexpected time, and getting the warning signs rather than the proof of malicious intent. So the security team will evaluate these activities together with the strong security with employee privacy and the appropriate presence. Then insider attacks. See, unlike the external attack hackers, the insider attackers already have the legitimate access to organizational systems. So this makes the insider attacks one of the most challenging cybersecurity threat because they often bypass the traditional security measure that is designed to stop the outsiders. So a security incident in which an authorized user intentionally misuse their legitimate access to compromise an organization's information, system, or resources, the attacker may be a current employee, a former employee, or a contractor, or a consultant, or maybe a vendor with authorized access also. So here the insider attacks are among the most difficult cybersecurity threat because authorized users already they possess the valid access and knowledge of organizational systems. See, the motivations may include like revenge, financial gain, or the desire to take confidential information when leaving an organization. So, effective protection, which requires a layered security approach, which includes the principle of least privilege, strong authentication, which continues the log monitoring, IDPS and IPS, so the data loss prevention, and a well-defined employee offboarding process that promptly remove the access when the employment is going to be ended. So by combining the least privilege access, strong authentication, continuous monitoring, then effective offboarding procedures, and the appropriate incident responses, the organizations can greatly reduce the likelihood and impact of insider threat. And then intrusion. See, so far, we have seen the classes of introduce, the skill levels of the attackers, and insider attack, then intruder behavior and attack life cycle like this. See, here an intrusion is an unauthorized attempt. It is an unauthorized attempt to access or let us say to use to modify or to control a computer system, network, or a data. So, an intrusion may target a single computer, a web server, a corporate network, or a database, or a cloud service. See, the objective is to gain the access or to increase the privilege. So, the primary objective of an intrusion is what? To gain unauthorized access to a system or to increase the privileges after entering it. So the attackers commonly achieve this particular thing by exploring the system or the software vulnerabilities like buffer overflow to execute unauthorized code and install the backdoors. So they may also target the protected information by guessing or stealing the passwords through the techniques like phishing and other forms of social engineering. See, the organizations they reduce these risks through the secure software development, uh, timely patch management, strong authentication, multi-factor authentication, and the user awareness training, and also the continuous security monitoring is required. And then the intrusion detection. See, an IDS. intrusion detection system becomes very important because it is going to act like a security alarm system for the computers and networks, just as like we have the security alarms for our home. um, so an IDS will detect the suspicious activities that may indicate a cyber attack. So a security intrusion is an unauthorized attempt to or to violate bypass or to violate the security controls of a computer system or even the network. So the attacker may attempt to access the confidential data, then modify the files, install malware, gain administrator privileges, then disrupt the system operations, like anything. So the intrusion detection is the process of monitoring the computers and networks to identify the suspicious activities that may indicate an attack. So how does this intrusion detections are going to work? See, an IDS will continuously collect the information. It will monitor the system activity. It will analyze the events. It will detect the suspicious behavior, and it will uh, all alert the administrators likewise. So the modern security operations center, SOC, we used to say, the modern security operations center, which is rarely rely on a single ideas. Instead, the organization's integrated host-based IDS, HIDS, then we have network-based IDS, NIDS, the endpoint detection and response, EDR, security information and event management, SIEM, and the user and entity behavior analysis or analytics. So by correlating the events from multiple security tools, the analysts can detect the sophisticated attack more quickly, reduce the false positives, and respond more effectively to to the security incidents. See, the intrusion detection is a very critical layer of modern cyber security. So here we can see two important concepts. One is the false positive and another one is false negative. Because the main objective for this one is to understand the assumptions that used in the intrusion detection, why the legitimate and malicious behavior may overlap, and the trade-off between the false positive and false negative should be understood. Because see, the overlap between the legitimate user and intruder is going to expect the overlap, as you can see in the picture also, the highlighted green area, which means many idea solutions will build a profile of normal user behavior. So this is sometimes called a behavior baseline. So a baseline is a record of what the normal systems or the user activities will look like over a particular time. See, instead of checking every action individually, the ideas will ask, is this behavior significantly different from what the user normally does? If it is yes, then it generate the alert. So here the intrusion detection systems, they purely based on the assumptions that attackers behave differently from the legitimate users. So by learning a baseline of normal activity, and ideas can identify a significant deviations that may indicate an intrusion. But however, because The legitimate and malicious behaviors sometimes overlap. So the ideas may generate false positive, incorrect alert, or false negative, missed attack. So effective intrusion detection is going to help or it require careful tuning to achieve an appropriate balance between detecting the real threat and minimizing the unnecessary alerts. Okay, let us take 5 minutes break. After that, we will continue the class. At 8:45 p.m., the class will be resumed. Okay, let us continue the session. So, now we are going to learn about the requirements of IDS. See, we need to understand what are the key requirements that make an intrusion detection system reliable, efficient, secure, and practical for protecting the modern computer systems and even the networks. Like, for example, imagine there is a hospital security guard who sleep during the night and he leave the building frequently and he is not recognizing the emergencies. So such a guard would be the ineffective and inefficient. Similarly, the IDS must continuously monitor the system while remaining the reliable and resistant to attacks. So it has to run continuously. Like an effective intrusion detection system, it must do more than um, to detect the attacks. It should operate continuously. It remain fault tolerant. It should resist the attempts to disable or to manipulate it and consume the minimal system resources. So it must also align with the organization's security policies, which can adapt to change in the users and technology, so we can scale as the organization is going to grow. We can continue providing the protection during the heavy workloads or the partial failures and supporting dynamic reconfiguration so that new threat can be addressed without significantly disturbing the operations. Then it is a very important topic, that is analysis approaches. See, an IDS must analyze the data collected from the sensors. So there are two main approaches that are used for this analysis. One is anomaly detection and signature or heuristic detection, or you can call it as misuse detection also. See, in overall, for example, there is a university IDS system which learn that the student usually access the learning management system during the daytime hours. One night, a user account suddenly downloaded thousands of examination files. The anomaly detection engine flagged the unusual behavior. At the same time, the signature engine will detect a known SQL injection attempt against the university web portal and generate another alert. Like, for example, let me give one more example. In banking system, the intuition detection systems, they detect a known ransomware communication pattern using signature detection. Separately, the anomaly detection engine will notice that a customer service employee is accessing hundreds of customers' account outside the normal working hours. So, which is significantly different from their usual behavior. So, the intrusion detection systems, they analyze the security events using two primary approaches. One is the anomaly detection, which learn the normal user and the system behavior, and also it identifies the significant deviations, so making it valuable for detecting unknown or zero-day attacks. Although it may produce more false positives, then the signature or heuristic detection, or even you can call it as misuse detection, it compares the current activities with known attack signatures or predefined rules. It will provide accurate detection of known attacks with very fewer false positives. So because each approach has a different strength and limitation. So the modern IDS solutions, they often combine both the methods to improve the overall detection accuracy. Now, Here we need to understand the working process of a anomaly detection, which includes the training and detection phase, and it will learn the three major classification approaches like statistical, knowledge based, and machine learning. So first of all, what is this anomaly detection? See, anomaly detection is an IDS technique that learn normal system or use or the user behavior and identifies the significant deviation that may indicate an intrusion. So the two steps of anomaly detection, what is that? Training phase and the detection phase. Training phase and detection phase. So in the training phase, we will develop a model of legitimate user behavior by collecting and processing the sensor data from the normal operation of the monitored system. So then the first classification is what? Statistical classification. See, statistical classification is going to, it is an approach which use the mathematics and statistics to describe the normal behavior. So here the ideas will measure the login frequency, network traffic, CPU usage, memory usage, the number of downloaded files, the number of downloaded files. Then knowledge based classification. See, the knowledge instead of mathematics, here the knowledge based system will use the expert knowledge, security rule, the organizational policies. So the rules are usually written by security experts and the system administrators. So the advantage is easy to explain, the rules are understandable, and it is good for policy enforcement. Policy enforcement. And then we have machine learning classification. See, a machine learning classification is a branch of artificial intelligence that enable the computers to learn the patterns automatically from data without being explicitly programmed for every situation, it can handle. See, in overall anomaly detection will enable an IDS to recognize the attacks by learning what is normal and identifying the meaningful deviations. So by combining statistical method, expert-defined rules, and machine learning techniques, the modern intrusion detection systems can detect both the traditional attacks and the sophisticated threat that would otherwise be difficult to identify. So here we need to learn how the signature-based and heuristic detections are working, where they are used, and their strengths and limitations. See, the signature or heuristic detection is an IDS technique that compare the current system or network activity against the database of known attack signature or predefined security rules to determine whether an intrusion has happened or not. So unlike the anomaly detection, it does not learn the normal behavior. Instead, it is going to check whether the observed activity will match something already known to be malicious or not. So the signature detection, which is going to match a collection of known patterns of malicious data against the data stored on the system or transmitted over a network. So a signature is a unique pattern, fingerprint, or the characteristics of a known cyber attack or malware. Known cyber attack or a malware. See, the signature or heuristic detection will identify the cyber attacks by comparing current activities with the known attack signature or the predefined security rules. So the signature detection is highly effective for identifying previously known threat by matching them against the signature database, while the rule-based heuristic detection will apply the expert defined rules to identify the suspicious behavior or attempts to exploit the known weaknesses. So because the signature detection depends on known attack patterns and heuristic rules will require the regular maintenance, modern IDS solutions, which often combine these methods with anomaly detection to provide the broader protection against both known and emerging threats. And then we have some examples. See, an alert does not automatically mean an attack has happened. It means is the activity is unusual or violated a security rule and it should be investigated. So when you recall that about rule-based IDS, it asks, does the current activity violate any predefined security rule? If the answer is yes, then the IDS will generate an alert. So there are various rules that we need to make sure. So normally a user signs in on one computer in one active session at a given time. If the same account is simultaneously active in multiple sessions where this is not accepted by organizational policy, the IDS may generate an alert. Then system files. So user do not make copies of systems or password files. For example, operating system configuration files, security configuration files, password databases. So these files are highly sensitive. Why? The attackers often try to copy these files because they may contain valuable information useful for future attacks. And rule 3, the user should not read in others users directories. Say each employee should normally access only the files that they are authorized to use. Reading another user's private directory without authorization is going to be suspicious. So the rule-based heuristic detection will strengthen the cybersecurity by enforcing expected user behavior through carefully designed security rules. When these rules are combined with anomaly detection and signature based detection, the organizations will gain a comprehensive defense capable of identifying the policy violations, insider threats, and many other forms of cyber attacks. Then, the first category we are going to learn about the host-based intrusion detection. See here, the major advantage of HIDS is it will detect insider attacks, it will monitor the local system changes, it will detect unauthorized file modification, it will detect malware installed on the host, and also it will work even when the attack do not generate unusual network traffic. Like for example, in our university, they installed HIDS on its examination server during the mid exam and final exam. So during the exam, the system detects an administrator account copying thousands of confidential examination files and creating a new privileged user account. Even though no unusual traffic is observed, the HIDS will identify these suspicious host activities. It will record them in the system log and alert the university IT security team. Likewise, see, a host-based intrusion detection system is installed on individual computer or server to monitor the local activities like the logins, file access, running um, processes, and system configuration changes. So it can detect both the external attacks and insider threats by using multiple detection techniques, including anomaly detection, threshold detection, profile based detection, and the signature based detection. So while some integrated solutions may automatically block certain attacks, the primary purpose of HIDS is to detect the suspicious activity, record the security events, and alert the administrators so that appropriate actions can be taken. So when you think of a HIDS mechanism like a doctor who is examining the patient, so a doctor cannot diagnose a patient without collecting information like temperature, blood pressure, blood test results. In the way, similarly, a HIDS cannot detect the attack unless it first collect the information from the computer. So a host-based intrusion detection system will depend on sensors to collect security-related information from the host. These sensors are going to monitor multiple data sources. It will include like system call traces, audit logs, file integrity checksums, and registry access. So by analyzing the information from these sources together, a HIDS can identify the suspicious activities like unauthorized logins, malware installation, file tampering, and configuration changes, providing stronger protection for critical systems. See, the host-based intrusion detection system is completely rely on multiple data sources to understand what is happening inside the computer. So the system call traces will provide detailed information about how the application interact with the operating system. So making them valuable for detecting the malicious program behavior. Then audit log records. This is going to provide a history of user activities and system events and that are readily available in most operating systems. While both the sources have advantage of limitations, that will be combining them by giving the ideas as a more complete view of system activity, and it improve the intrusion detection accuracy. See, the file integrity checksum or file integrity monitoring will protect the critical files by comparing their current cryptographic checksum with trusted baseline values. If an unauthorized modification happens, the checksum change and the HIDS generate an alert. So the registry monitoring will be focusing on detecting of unauthorized changes to the Windows registry, which malware frequently modifies to achieve the persistence or alter the system settings. So while each technique has limitations, it will be combining them with other HIDS data sources that will provide a stronger and more reliable host security solutions. So then we have network based ideas. See, so far, if you see in the previous slides and all, we focused on host based intrusion detection systems which monitor the activities inside an individual computer or a server. So the network based intrusion detection systems is going to watch the traffic flowing across an entire network. So a network-based intrusion detection system is a security system that monitor the network traffic at strategic locations to detect the malicious activities, attacks, or even the policy violations or the policy violations. So a network-based IDS is going to examine the network packet as they are going to travel. Let me show you the image across the network. Like for example, TCP traffic, UDP traffic, HTTP request, HTTPS metadata payloads. So it searches for the suspicious patterns. So the NIDS analyze the traffic as the packet which passes through or are going to be observed on the network, which will be allowing the alerts to be generated quickly after the suspicious activity is detected. So this rapid analysis will help the administrators to respond before an attack is going to progress further. And a sensor is a monitoring component that capture the network traffic and send it to the IDS analysis engine. So the large organizations, they usually deploy multiple sensors across different network segmentations. See, for example, um, in a bank, they deploy an inline NIDS at the entrance of its to its secure transaction network. So the system analyze the network packets in near real time and identify the unusual traffic patterns that are associated with a distributed denial of service attack. So because the NIDS is integrated with an intrusion prevention system, the security infrastructure automatically blocks the malicious traffic while continuing to monitor the legitimate customer transaction. So we have the NIDS techniques. See, just like, for example, just like a police officer who cannot stop every vehicle on the road, a NIDS cannot treat every packet as malicious. It needs detection technique to decide whether the network traffic is normal or suspicious. So there are two primary techniques that are used in NIDS. They are signature detection and anomaly detection. Signature detection and anomaly detection. So here, a network-based intrusion detection system will use the signature detection to identify the known attacks by matching the traffic against the predefined attack patterns, and the anomalies detection is to identify the unusual network behavior like denial of service attacks, scanning, worm propagation, or sudden traffic increase. So when suspicious activity is detected, the NIDS will generate the alerts and records detailed the log. So these logs will support both the IDS analysis engine, which can be refined over the time, and security administrator who use the information to investigate the incidents and strengthen the organization's overall network security. So then we have the architecture of a autonomic enterprise security. See, as you can see in the image also, like it's a large enterprise with thousands of employees, hundreds of servers, multiple branch offices, cloud infrastructure, data centers. So now in this type of cases and all, will the intrusion detection system is enough? No. The modern organizations, they require an autonomic enterprise security system where multiple security systems will work together automatically, share the information, and respond quickly to the cyber threats. So an autonomic enterprise security system is a self-managing security architecture in which the multiple security components automatically monitor, share the information, and coordinate the responses to the cyber threat with minimal human intervention. So, for example, in a hospital network, let us assume that it contains multiple medical departments connected through a central data center, and an IDS sensor is the in the radiology department detect ransomware attempting to encrypt the medical image. Using peer-to-peer communication, the detection information is quickly shared with IDS sensors, which will be protecting the laboratory system, pharmacy system, and the electronic medical record servers. So the coordinated response will help to isolate affected device before the patient care is significantly disturbed. Now let us see the logging of alerts. Are you all able to see the slide? Can you all see the slide? Yes, thank you. See, there are security teams. They also need to answer many questions when they are working into this type of intrusion detection systems and all. When you think of an IDS log as the security incident report that is prepared after every suspicious event, then it has some terminology that needs to be understood by every cybersecurity expert. Why? Because see, these terminologies will provide the clear information. Like for example, if it is a timestamp, then it records when the event is happened. Session ID will tell you like identification of the communication session. Alert type will describe the detected attack or event. Severity rating will indicate the importance of the alert. Then protocol information will identify the network, transport, and application protocol. Then source or destination IP will identify the communicating systems. Source or destination port, which will indicate the network services that are involved. So likewise, many things, many terminologies that need to be understood in a clearer way. See, in modern security operations centers, the IDS alerts will have the log, and they are typically forwarded to a security information and event management platform. There they are correlated with firewall logs, endpoint telemetry, authentication events, cloud activity, and threat intelligence. So this centralized analysis will enable the analyst to reconstruct the complete attack timelines, prioritize the incident based on risk, and support the digital forensic investigation while reducing the false positives. And then, so if each vendor is using its own message format, the system cannot easily exchange the information. To solve this problem, the Internet Engineering Task Force, IETF, they created the Intrusion Detection Working Group, IDWG, to develop the standard formats and protocols for sharing the intrusion detection information. When you think of it like the countries agreeing on a common language so that everyone can understand each other, likewise. See, an international organization that develops open internet standards and protocols, which is used to ensure that internet technologies will work together. Like, for example, TCP/IP, HTTP, SMTP, DNS. So many internet security protocols are defined by this IETF. So even though the intrusion detection working group, they laid the foundation for standardized intrusion detection message exchange, the modern security operations centers, SOCs, they typically integrate many additional technologies, including security information and event management platform, endpoint detection and response solution, extend, extended detection and response platform, security orchestration, automation, and the response tools and cloud security service. So these systems often exchange the information using standardized formats where it is appropriate, along with modern APIs and threat intelligence standards, which will be creating a highly integrated security ecosystem. Now, a very important concept, that is honeypot. See, unlike a normal server that provides useful services to the user, a honeypot is internationally designed to attract the attackers, intentionally designed to attract the attackers. Like, for example, think it like a bat or a trap, just as a police may use the decoy vehicle to catch the car thieves. Cybersecurity professionals, they use the honeypot to attract the attackers, observe their behavior, and protect the real systems. So, a deliberately deployed computer system or service designed to appear valuable so that the attackers interact with it instead of targeting the real production systems, and this mechanism is called as honeypot mechanism. So its primary purpose is not to provide the business service, its purpose is to detect the attacks, observe the attacker's behavior, collect the threat intelligence, and delay the attackers. See, many modern organizations, they are increasingly combine the honeypots, endpoint detection and response. network detection and response, security information and event management, and threat intelligence platforms and all. Because the advanced deception of technologies can automatically create the realistic decoy servers, credentials, databases, and the files that share throughout an enterprise. So because the legitimate users they rarely interact with these deceptive resources, any access that attempt is a strong indicator of suspicious activity, making the deception based defense as a valuable complement to the traditional intrusion detection system. Now let us see the honeypot classification. There are two classifications. One is low interaction honeypot and another one is high interaction honeypot. So the main difference between them is how much interaction they allow an attacker to have within the system. So when you think of like this, a low interaction honeypot is like a movie set. It looks real from a distance, but it is only a simulation. Whereas a high interaction honeypot is like a real house that an investigator allow a suspect to enter while everything is being monitored. So the modern organizations they often deploy multiple layers of deception technologies rather than relying on one single honeypot. So the lower interaction honeypots they are commonly distributed throughout the enterprise network as lightweight detection sensor, while carefully isolated high interaction honeypots are used by security researchers, incident response teams, and security operation centers to analyze the sophisticated threat. So these environments frequently integrate with security information and the event management platforms. So the endpoint detection and response tools and threat intelligence systems, they enable the organizations to convert the attacker's behavior into the improved detection rules and also the strong defense strategies. Now let us see about the snort rules. See, before that, let us understand the snort ideas. Okay, so snort does not magically know what an attack looks like. Instead, it uses the rules. When you think of the snort rule as a security instruction that tell the snort, if you see traffic matching these conditions, perform the action like that. So snort is going to examine every packet which is passing through the network. If a packet match one of its rules, it perform the action specified in that rule. So the network traffic will be there, the snort engine will be there, then it will compare against the rules. If it match, then alert or action will be taken. If there is no match, then it will be ignored. So a snort rule is a text-based instruction that is going to define the conditions under which the snort should detect, log, or respond to the network traffic. See, the rules are easy to read and modify. Even though they are text, they are extremely very powerful. They are extremely very powerful. So the snort rules are the intelligence behind the snort intrusion detection system. By combining a structured header with flexible detection options, they enable the organizations to identify the suspicious network activity, generate meaningful alerts, and strengthen their overall cybersecurity posture. So, with this, we completed this module. So, I think a day after tomorrow, you don't have class because you all have the midterm exams. So, coming to the midterm exams, there is a detailed announcement. Let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, I think you all can see the screen which I am sharing. So if you see here, your midterm exam is going to cover module 1 to module 6. Your midterm exam is going to cover module 1 to module 6, and there will be 50 multiple choice questions, and every question will have only one single correct answer. So the remaining three options will not be correct. Only one single correct option will be there. And the questions are designed with a difficulty level like 20 questions will be easy, 20 will be like moderate, and 10 will be like a little hard, like that. So this is the difficulty levels the college has decided to fix. And I kindly request every one of you to cover the content from module 1 to 6 and make sure all the guidelines that are given by the college when to attend the midterm exam. So there is only one attempt that is allowed for you in the midterm exam. Once you submit your exam, it cannot be reopened. So please make sure, and also manage your time wisely, because you have 50 MCQs for 1 hour now. So don't please avoid spending too much time in each question. Based on the question, make sure that you are giving productive time to that, and you are writing your exam in an effective way. Okay, so this is all about today's session, and my best wishes and prayers for your midterm exams. Do well in your summer courses, and all the best. See you all after the midterm exams. Okay, thank you all. If you have any queries, please feel free to ask. And the grades for your discussion board and assignment one will be posted by tomorrow. And also the attendance for till last week, it is already posted on the banner system. You can check your banner systems.